Let me move to the kind of the filling now of this sandwich and say that a few years ago, we started this journey from what I would say we were a community of believers that would gather for events and we'd support one another. And that's all fine and that's all great. But I believe that we've moved from that kind of dynamic to being a family on mission. Let me tell you, there is a big difference between those two things. Nothing wrong with our gatherings. I think we do that really well. And it's great to be here again this morning. But we are a family on mission. And our mission is to be disciples who make disciples who make disciples. You know, that's what Matthew 28:19 is all about, that we are to make disciples and to go into all the nations doing that. That is our mandate. That is what we're supposed to be about. And we're still learning to do that. And so on that journey over this last few years, particularly, we've been very intentional. And I want to tell you something. We are totally, as a leadership, we are totally committed to that course. You need to understand that this isn't a fad. This is something Jesus said that we're supposed to do. So we're taking his word very, very seriously. And we've been tracking that course and putting some stuff to you guys over those years to implement that and to intentionalize that. And therefore, we would say we are in transition. This is another transition. Who loves transition? One or two of you. Yeah, I know why. You know something? We change things, but we transition people. And so we need to understand that we are all part of a transition. There's a great graphic behind me that I want you to look at and to take on board. How many were here last year when I'm sure it was last year, where I stood in our other hall and I stood with a sack over my head and I preached with a sack on my head? Does anybody remember that? Give me a wave. Some of you were going to come and try and rescue me, and we were talking about transition, and we were saying that in transition there's different stages. And so we've got, what greater picture have we got than a caterpillar to a butterfly, and in the middle there is that chrysalis. And we talked about when we're in the chrysalis, when that's like that, it's like we're in this sack and it doesn't feel very comfortable, and we can't see a lot, and a bit of nothingness going on, and that's what it's like. I think these guys, rather than just sitting here, I think we should have them as these transition stages. So who should be the caterpillar? You're going to be the caterpillar. You bet them being the chrysalis, because we know what's coming with that. You want to be the butterfly. You stand over that side then. You're going to be the butterfly. Who's going to be the caterpillar? Because the other one gets the short straw, basically. You're going to be the caterpillar. Steve's going to go this side. You be the caterpillar, and you're the chrysalis. Okay, so you just got to be the chrysalis. You just got to stand in the middle. Okay, so these represent caterpillar, chrysalis, and butterfly. All right, you did that well. You didn't do one. You should do one of those. What do they call them? Are they? Yeah, no, maybe not. Maybe we'll leave you on that one this morning. But so here's the deal, and we've got that graphic there. We said we are here. Now I believe, and I've come to terms with this, that on this journey, there's a point where we're in the chrysalis and it's difficult to tell what the butterfly looks like. We've had the caterpillar, we've kind of all been back there and we know what it used to look like, but then we're on our way to the butterfly. But before we can have that in this transition period, there's always like this chrysalis, which is a bit of a nothingness. I'm not calling you nothing, mate, this morning. All right, so in that, if you remember, I said last year when I wore that sack, it's like in that we think that's just an unfurled butterfly waiting to come out. The reality is it's like soup. There's just no form to it. And sometimes when we're in this period and in this transition, this is where I believe we are, from this just attractional model into this attractional and missional kind of purpose that we have towards the butterfly. We have to go through this period, which I would say we're in right now. And I want you to understand that. Because sometimes it's like, well, what are we doing? And it doesn't really look like a lot. That's because we all understand the caterpillar. We know what that looks like. We've all been there and done that. That can be program, it can be projects, it can be all kinds of not bad things, but that's what it is. And then we're moving towards the butterfly, which is living on purpose, living on mission, living as a disciple who makes disciples, and we're kind of on that way. Because we don't know exactly what that looks like, we're in the soup. And I want you to understand something. Sometimes when we're moving forward, hear this. Sometimes when we're moving forward towards the butterfly, we look back towards the caterpillar. And therefore, that kind of has all kinds of dynamics in our life. It makes us ask certain questions. So here's the deal. I think very often when we're in the soup, when we're in this transition and we're in this chrysalis, because it's like a nothingness and we know what the caterpillar looks like and we're not quite sure what the butterfly is going to look like, we're moving forward, but we're looking back. And that makes us, I believe, have the right heart. There's a right desire. This is what I feel coming from the church community at the minute. There's a right heart and a right spirit and a right desire for more of God, for spiritual maturity. So we've got the right heart, but sometimes we ask the wrong questions. And I want you to note that if you're going to be asking questions at this time, let's be asking questions towards the butterfly and not towards the caterpillar. Does that make sense? That's why I thought it was a good idea. You guys can sit down again because you look tired. So you can sit down for a moment. So that's just he's actually gone and sat down altogether. Come and join us, Steve. Nearly went home then. No, we want you right here, mate. So to help what I'm speaking about, to help us get beyond the chrysalis and to get to this butterfly, which we want. Who wants the butterfly? Me. We want the butterfly. We want to look like we said. We're going to look with the purpose we've got, family living on mission together. And to help us in that, we've been thinking about some intentional shifts. What can we do to help that more than we've done before? And so we're looking here at leadership team responsibilities. That's really what I want to speak to you for the next few minutes before Ben comes to bring just a word to us. So I want you to get hold of this. We don't just want to be leaders of task, but we want to be leaders of values. Hear what I'm saying? You know, it's like when we need leaders, and generally speaking, when that comes in church life, it's all been about task. Now, task needs doing, but we don't just want to be leaders of task. We want to be leaders of values. In other words, people who are leading us towards our values. Does that make sense? And so we have a new look team, basically. And I would just like to speak to you for a moment about Siobhan and say, actually, it's welcome to Siobhan onto our leadership team. So everybody cheer. And when we speak about value and not just about task, you know, we could give Siobhan a task and put this role on her and say, this is what you are over this program or over this age group or whatever. We could do that, and we have done those things. Nothing wrong with those things. But you know, we're trying to lead more to our values. So we've said to Siobhan, okay, you are now over mission and discipleship. It's a value. It's not a task. Now, there's task in that. But actually, it's a value. If we say we value mission and discipleship, well, we need to push our human resource towards the things that we say we value. How many know that makes sense? And so Siobhan is going to be looking after. That's a big thing, isn't it? Siobhan is now responsible for mission and discipleship. It's like, oh, we get away with it. No, she's going to be on your case. That in reality, she is here to create some what we're calling vehicles. You've heard us use that term many times now. Vehicles to take us on a journey towards mission and discipleship. You know, programs are okay, but you know what? Programs meet a need. Vehicles take us on a journey. There's a reason that we use the language that we use. So Siobhan's going to be looking after that, and it's great to have her on board. Rachel, of course, who isn't with us this morning, she is looking at there. She's a bottle of water. That when we speak about value, well, we value leadership in this church community, and not just leadership. We believe in whole life leadership, because the church is too busy creating leaders for task in the church. How many know that leadership is far more than that? We know that we need good leaders in politics. We need good leaders in leisure. We need good leaders in the business world. We need good leadership in the church. How many know that's true? We need good leadership in our family life. So it's about whole life leadership. And so Rachel is going to be over leadership development in the house and in this community, creating pipelines to create good leaders. I mean, you know, if we're going to go where we've got to go, we've got to have some great leaders in life. Ben, of course. How many like Ben? He's all right. He's okay. Do you know that Ben, I didn't know this, Ben has been on staff 10 years. Did you know that? He's me still thinking he's a kid. And 10 years he's been on staff. And you know, one of the things that we would say we value is people. You know, that's where it starts and finishes. You know, we are primarily not leaders of things, we are leaders of people. And so with Ben, we value people. And so he is becoming, get this, the campus leader of this site. Let me explain that to you. So what that means basically is that he will be doing the day-to-day running of this site. This is massive. And of the people in this church community. I think this is really exciting. I love to see guys that have been part of us and grown up here coming into leadership at that level. I think is exciting. And you should be pleased about that as well, I believe. And so he's going to be doing the day-to-day running and leading of here and everything that goes on this site. And then, of course, we come to Steve there on the end. And we would say that we value service. We give our service to the community. We built this incredible site for our community. We serve our community with the corporate, yeah? And with lots of other things. And Steve is now over the corporate and finance, of which he is now heading up a very gifted team of people that look after those things. I think this is really special. And then there's me. I'm just going to Barbados for the rest of my life. I leave this afternoon. I'm not so sure whether my wife will come with me or not. But no, the reality is that Helen and myself will continue to be the senior leaders of today's community church, a privilege that has been ours for the last 21 or 2 years. I'm losing count. And we still have passion, we still have desire, not only for each other, but for this church and for this town. And so we continue to be the leaders here. But you know, one of the other things that we would say we value kingdom. We value the kingdom of God. It's not just about our little local church in our corner doing our thing, is it? It's about the kingdom of God. And so I'm going to be looking after what we've termed international resource. And this is the whole thing of, I believed a long time ago that God, through our story, would create resources to help other churches in this country, in Europe, and to the uttermost parts of the earth. And so that's what I'm going to be turning my attention to. If you like, I'm going to be rolling out into other contexts who we are. That's it, what we've learned, our story. And so already we're helping churches in Eastern Europe change and transition church from one place to another. Big group of them coming in a couple of months' time. Also doing that in other parts of this country where we're coaching and mentoring churches who want to change. This is exciting, not just for them, but for us, that we are not just a road to Wigan Pier, we are a road from Wigan Pier. Is very, very exciting to me.